Hi guys, Richard the head chef here. Hope you guys all had a good day. So tonight's dinner is going to be a traditional Japanese ramen made with some thick soba noodles. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So what we're going to do is just going to cut up some green peppers, nice thin sliced green peppers. Just a nice little handful. It's just going to be put on the top of the noodles once we've made the noodles in the broth. And let's get the steak done first of all. So I'm going to marinate the steak in so first we're going to use a little bit of light soy sauce. Light soy sauce is a little bit salty. It's got a nice, I mean obviously people have had soy before, so, and a little bit of dark soy. So the dark soy has got a little bit of a sweeter taste to it. We're just going to marinate the steak in dark soy, light soy for a bit. Let that just lie around while we're just getting everything else prepped. And I'm also going to put some of this Maggi seasoning in. Also gives it a nice salty flavor. So yeah, we'll just chuck it in there. And just let's set that aside. Let that just marinate for a while. Probably best to marinate it for a couple of hours, to be fair. But so what we're going to be using, we're going to use these ready to wok noodles. Bought from, I think they come from Aldi, but they're a very versatile noodle. You can cook them with anything. I just like a thicker noodle as opposed to like a ramen noodle. These are nice, and they're ready cooked. So basically, it's just a case of warming them through. There's not even, you don't even have to cook them really. Like I said, we're going to use some green peppers, some onion. Which what we'll just do is with the onion, we'll just slice it really thin. And that should be enough for our dish. And then some of Monge Tout, which is not really a traditional thing, but I just like the flavor of them. So we'll make a couple of those. They've got a nice sweet flavor to them, so you know, everybody likes a little bit of sweetness with their food. And then for garnish, what we'll do is we'll use some spring onions cut at a diagonal. And that's just going to be for a garnish on top. We'll just throw that on top once it's all been done. So the ingredients we actually use for the broth, for the actual broth of the ramen. So traditionally they would have used either a vegetable broth or a chicken. Either way, you could make it vegetarian without the meat. Obviously you could do this with a vegetarian thing, but I'm going to make a slight change to this. So the Thai have got a dish called Tom Yum Goong, which is a really hot and spicy soup. They make it with prawns, can be done with chicken and beef, but it's super spicy, a very, very strong flavor to it. But I actually love Tom Yum Goong, so maybe on another episode we'll do a Tom Yum Goong, traditional Tom Yum Goong, and I'll show you exactly how it would be done by a Thai restaurant. But these pastes done by this Mai Ploy are probably the best Thai pastes you can buy that I've found. I mean, I've tried so many different ones, but this one for me is probably one of the nicest flavors. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a broth out of this, as opposed to the normal chicken broth that they would normally use. So let's just put that aside for a second, and we'll go through the other ingredients. So some fish sauce. Get the best possible fish sauce you can. It makes a big difference to the flavor of the dish. One of the things that I'm going to use, which some people may jump up and down with, is monosodium glutamate, which is Chinese call it MSG, or it's traditionally known as MSG. It's salty, but it's got quite a nice, almost like an umami flavor to it. And it's the secret to most Chinese and Japanese, in fact, all Asian cooking. Controversial, because people think it has carcinogens in which can give you cancer and that. But if you look at the whole of the Asian culture, they all cook with this stuff. And for the most part, they seem to be pretty happy and pretty healthy too. So yeah, I've got no problem using it. Obviously just a good quality olive oil, just so that we can fry our steak in it. And again, obviously the light and dark soy sauce, which we'll add to the sauce, and we'll add, and we'll do that to taste. So, and some chilies, some chili flakes, just little normal chili flakes. I love, and I've just lost the lid. I love spicy food, so the chili flakes are just going to add to the spice of that. Right, so let's set this aside for a second. Cooking pot up here, and we'll cook our steak, and then I'm going to cook the steak in the broth. So just give us a second and we'll be back. Right, so let's just add some olive oil to the pan. We're going to grill it. Now the steak is going to be down to your choice, how you like your steak done. I like my steak done rare, so therefore we are going to cook it quite rare. You must remember, once it goes into the ramen bowl, it's going to lie in the ramen broth for a couple of seconds. So just keep that in mind, because the cooking process will still carry on when it's in the ramen bowl. And you don't want to overcook your steak, which is a high likelihood if you leave it lying in the bowl. So what we'll do is we're going to toss this steak around in there for a second. While the pan heats up. Now we want this pan to be super hot, so let's just give it a few minutes while it gets hot. And in the meantime, in the comments, let me know what you guys think of traditional Japanese like ramen bowls and noodles. 2-minute noodles, for all intents and purposes, are actually a ramen noodle. You just have it with the broth. Some people like it dry, some people like it soupy, like a real brothy kind of thing. But there's so much you can do with a packet of 2-minute noodles. Don't just chuck it in a bowl, add the spices and carry on. This is a way that you can like really zhuzh up your ramen dishes. So while that pan is warming up, we can chat about, like, you know, what is it that you guys eat in the lorries when you're driving and when you're parked up at night? What is your favorite go-to meals? And as time goes by, you know, you guys can ask questions, and if you need some advice on cooking in the lorry and the appliances and things that I use, I'll be more than happy to share that stuff with you. So, right, I think our pan is now pretty warm. Let's get back to the frying pan. You know, I think it gives that's all the flavor is in that fat. And again, like I said, this is down to your own personal preference. You know, you don't have to cook the steak rare. I'm a bit of a fanatic about rare steak. It's got to be done right. For me, a steak can't be anything more than, if at a push, medium rare. But for me, that would be, medium rare would even be a little bit too cooked. So, give that a couple of more seconds, and then we'll take it out. Pour the rest of that juices in there and we'll take that steak out to rest. Now, everybody might be thinking, well, that steak can't be cooked. Well, it's not, but that's how I like my steak. So let's add some water to that, boss. Probably about a cupful, a good cupful of water. So into there we're going to add some light soy sauce, probably about a tablespoon. And again, dark soy sauce, I would say probably about half a tablespoon, maybe even a teaspoon, because this has got quite a sweet flavor to it. And mixing the two gives it a really nice combination. Fish sauce, if you're vegetarian or vegan, obviously you're not going to go for fish sauce, but so again, about a teaspoonful. But then taste it. I mean, you got to taste your food as you're going along, right? Yeah, that's already lovely. So now let's add in the secret ingredient, and this tom yum sauce. This paste is actually, so if you're going to use this, and you can buy it from any Chinese delicatessens, any Thai restaurants, any Thai delicatessens or Asian supermarkets. But I would suggest you be very careful with how much you use, because this stuff is quite fiery. It's got a serious burn to it if you use too much, and you could quickly regret it if you did add too much in. And I think that's about it for me. So let's have a quick taste. Oh, that's absolutely lovely. It's got such a nice, it's got a kick to it. If I say to you, like a chili kick to it, but it's not too spicy that, well, I mean, if you added too much to this, it could end up real spicy. But, oh, that's actually so nice. And we just add a couple of little chili flakes to that, just because I'm a sucker for punishment. And we'll add a little dash of MSG, probably about a third of a teaspoon, just to give it that little bit of umami flavor. And again, also a little bit of this Maggi sauce. So with your ramen noodles that you get in the bag, in the packets, these little 2-minute noodles, obviously you just add the spices and the chilies that come with them. Oh, that's lovely. Absolutely divine. Right, so effectively that ramen, what we're going to do is just let it cook for a few minutes, and then we'll add our noodles, and then we'll assemble the dish. The assembly is probably the easiest part of the whole thing. The cooking of the broth, I mean, once you've cooked your steak, then that's pretty much all of the cooking done. You can put a fried egg on top of it if you want, but yeah, I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to have mine just as it comes, and I'll show you in a second how we assemble the whole dish. I'm also going to add a couple of raw chili, just because I'm a sucker for chilies. So these little bird's eye chilies are quite strong, but yeah, careful how you use them, because you might regret putting too much on as well. Okay, so that broth will be done now. It doesn't take much to cook. The sauce is already, you know, that Tom Yum Goong sauce is actually, it's hard to explain the flavor of it, but it is. It's pretty fiery, so be careful with it. Oh, that's it. That's absolutely divine. Cool. That bowl with the broth now is going to go the noodles. So these noodles come in little packs of 2. There's 2 packs per thing, but depending on how hungry you are, you can use one or you can use both. For tonight's dinner, I think I'm just going to use the one. Open it up, and then just drop it into the broth. In fact, you know what we're going to do? We're going to use both. We'll use both tonight, so the noodles can separate. And that's it. We'll just toss that around in there, let the noodles all separate and get warmed up, because they are cooked already. We're just going to warm them through nicely. So I like my ramen to be quite saucy, and obviously this is going to be nice and saucy, and it's just yummy. If you could smell this, it just smells divine. I'm going to plug it back in just for a second, just to warm that through, because now the noodles have cooled the broth down slightly, so I want them to separate nicely and just warm through completely, and then this dish is going to be done. So with that said, let's grab our steak, which has now been resting for a few minutes, and we're going to cut that through. Don't waste all that beautiful beef flavor that's been from the resting steak there. Now people are going to be sitting there thinking, well, but you haven't cooked that steak long enough. For me, that steak is overcooked. It's not overcooked. I mean, I'm being silly now, but for me, that steak is perfect. It's exactly how I like my steak. And all the vegans and vegetarians on this that watch this will be going absolutely nuts now, thinking to themselves, like, how could he be eating that? It's still raw. Well, each to their own. See, I mean, that's how I like my steak. It's still going to be rare. It's beautiful. It's juicy. It's yummy. And it tastes heavenly. Okay, so that said, let's assemble our bowl. Into the bowl, we're going to pour our ramen and all the broth. And that already just smells so, I mean, it's just heavenly. To that we'll add some green peppers, some onions, now with Japanese food is quite textural. So, you know, it's all about texture, the warm, the cold, the raw, the crunchy bits. So all of this vegetables and things you want to add, like I said, I normally add carrots, grated carrots to that as well. But you can add bean sprouts, grated carrots, a boiled egg on top would be grand. Let's add some of the Monge Tout. And then obviously the flavor of the dish is going to be the beef. And on top of that, some spring onion. And that's going to be it. That's done. Let's just eat that piece of steak because it's lying around doing nothing. I mean, that is really nice. Oops, sorry. Steak chili's trying to jump out my hand here. Right, so let's do some chili on top. And like I said before, be quite sparing with these little bird's eye chilies because they can be fiery. And that, guys, is pretty much that. That's going to be our ramen bowl. Obviously, once everything's been prepped, it only takes a couple of minutes to do the dish itself. But it's well worth it. And you could take any 2-minute noodle in a bag or in a little packet, cook the noodles as per the instructions for 2 minutes or whatever the case there may be, and then add all these other textural elements to it, just to zhuzh up the dish. And that, guys, will be tonight's dish. That was obviously a beef ramen with some vegetables, and I'll tell you now, that is so well worth a couple of minutes effort that we put into this dish, just to spice it all up, just to make it a little bit more interesting than just the 2-minute noodle. And with that, bon appetit. I absolutely love ramen, especially done like this, because it just gives it so much more, I don't know, call it attitude. You know, and everybody likes to eat food with attitude, and I love food with attitude. So, yeah. And with that, I'm going to bid you all a fond farewell. I hope you guys have a good night. If you park it, if you're already parked up, have a great sleep. If you're not, if you're still driving, which you shouldn't be watching me, don't watch me while you're driving. But if you are planning on driving soon, drive safe. And everybody out there, look after yourselves.